You're going to meet a lot of gatekeepers throughout the journey, and so today I'm sitting down with Remsy Atassi out of Chicago to talk about his feature film Bad Animal, how he shot it on film, the importance of physical media and physical spaces, what success means in a creative field. And so without any further delay, let's jump into it.
A love story set in kind of the DIY music scene of Chicago. It's kind of about a up-and-coming artist who kind of has a relationship with this manager and sort of tells their story over the years. But I'd say it's kind of like original soundtrack from Chicago artists. It's just very much a send-up of the DIY sort of Chicago aesthetic and music scene at the time when we made it. That kind of thing is always changing. Yeah. And I found by the time I was at the end of it, I had been a really big part of that community for probably about 8 years when we started doing the film. And that was kind of my swan song in it. Cause it's like, you reach a point, you kind of start to age out. And also like, this had been such like a huge effort and took, years to do. And so by the time I was done with it, I was kind of like, well, I think I'm ready for like the next phase of my life. But we had like all the actors in, I mean, just very Chicago in that sense. Like, it's like a lot of hometown heroes. In terms of the music and the, hey,
there we go. Okay, I didn't stop recording. Did you stop?
No.
Okay, then it should all sync back up. I'll just cut that part out. Yeah, I think I just think the app needed to be
what was the last thing I was saying? Like when did
you said something along the lines of like 8 years and it was time for something else. Like you were at the end of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It froze up around that point.
So it was. Basically we spent a long time in that community. The film we shot just before COVID, and then we finished it throughout COVID. So it was just, it was a labor of love. I mean, it was a project that a lot of people put, very scrappy effort into for many years.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about because when I was watching it, and it's like, it's a pretty contained, like, I realized that you could tell you had some constraints, but it was like you almost instantly turned the constraints into like positives, which I really enjoyed. Cause like sometimes when you're watching movies that are, that are the indie films and things like that, you're like, oh, they didn't have any locations. They didn't have this. They didn't have this. Yeah. And I think a lot of filmmakers they just go like, well, it's there, so it is what it is. But could you talk about like when you realized like some of these constraints you were going to have were actually going to be like what made the film what it could be?
Well, I had tried to get a lot of film projects started, and I think that you kind of work with the things that you feel like you have access to, and that's the best thing that you can do. Looking at it as I do now, obviously, so many things I would do differently.
Of course. Yeah, I'd throw this film in the trash and start over if I could. But
like one big thing is like, due to budget, like we didn't have a production designer. The producers were kind of helping, and that's like now I don't think I would ever like. To me, I'm like the production designer. The way I work now, I'm like is like the first key person. So
I don't think I would have noticed that though. I think because that's what I'm saying. Like you picked locations that were kind of already set deck to feel like those characters' places.
Yeah. So we had access. I mean, being in Chicago. And the producing team, like we all had resources and we pretty much just dug into what we had. I mean, I have, I don't even know if we shot there, but like I have a small studio. So I think we did a few things there. And then we would call in favors. I mean, we got a lot of favors. We paid for a few locations, but I mean, we paid, I think less than $1,500 for our locations. Because we were just getting friend rates, and yeah, we would go to these like really amazing recording studios.
Yeah, you guys have some awesome locations for only spending $1,500 on locations.
Yeah, we got some amazing recording studios that we would get recording studios are actually not that expensive to go in because musicians are, even more broke than filmmakers. And so we would just pay the booking rate, and then we would go in and then we would be like, okay, how many different looks can we get in different scenes that we can do here? And
so you just get the hourly rate, have the because are the actors actually singing all the songs? Or are they doing the singing?
They did. Well, Michael, the main guy, he did because he's a performer. So he's actually like a hometown hero, like Chicago DIY.
Yeah, he seemed like he was a musician. Legend. Like that's what he seemed like.
He's a musician. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's just an all around artist, and he's very prominent in the community here.
Okay, that's cool.
So he was actually a guy because I had done for many years. I did like music videos that I directed and photographed. Gotcha. So that was how I got in the music scene, and so that was how we were able to get all these amazing artists that we commissioned, and we actually gave the music artists, we gave them some points on the film, a piece of it, but I mean, it's never going to make any money. So, there is that,
Yeah,
but we were kind of tried to make it a really collaborative effort with like the other creators and people. We had helped people out a lot. I mean, in music videos and stuff. So we called in a lot of favors on that front, on the score, and then the recording. Yeah, we basically we had this songs commissioned. I kind of worked. I mean, I'm a musician. Music's a huge part of the film. I just had this ambition to do that. And I felt like that was something where we could punch above our weight as well, because I just felt like I could pull that together. And so I did. And I sort of produced a lot of the songs because I kind of had a vision for how they needed to fit in the movie. I kind of knew the tracks we needed. And then like all of Marlene's music, Rivka Reyes, her music was this group Pixel Grip, who's amazing. Actually, they have a huge career now. They're like a truly amazing, like electronic band, who we became really good friends with, and we did other stuff with. And then the hip hop was a few different guys, Chris Crack and Malky, like community guys who we had done content with. So, and then Michael went in and laid all those down. Riv, she just lip synced. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because when I was watching it, I was like, okay, it feels like these are like, that was your access. And usually in indie film, the music is hard. It's hard to do. I mean, I've done it multiple different ways. I've done it composers, I've licensed songs, I've done the combination, I've had music written before we started.
We did the combo, yeah. We had composition too, and my brother is a composer.
I thought I saw the same last name, towards the end, so I assumed that was a family member. And but yeah, so did you have, for the idea for the movie, did you have songs already in mind that you were like, that kind of structured it? Because you're talking about it it makes more sense now that you say you started in music videos, because everything feels like it's kind of like a loop with the music. Like each kind of act feels like it has its own songs.
Yeah.
So it's not a musical by anybody listening right now. It's not.
I mean, in a way, it actually.
In the way it is. But
the funny thing is, because it
is kind of a musical.
Musicals, and I kind of hate musicals. But there were like some like kind of hip hop quasi musicals that I just like love. And so like I was kind of inspired by some of that, I guess.
What are some of those? Do you have some in your mind?
Yeah. What's the one? Oh man, what is it called? Like Rhythm and Flow? Is that
Hustle and Flow?
Is that Hustle and Flow?
That's what I thought you were saying. Yeah.
I love
Craig.
that movie. I mean, I forgot I messed up the title, but I love that movie. And
Hustle and Flow is great.
Director
Craig Brewer.
Yeah. He's done some other really cool kind of hip hop adjacent stuff.
Yeah, he even did a remake of Footloose. If you haven't seen that, it's incredible.
I haven't seen that.
It's like I will watch anything Craig Brewer's done, because since Hustle and Flow, and then there was Black Snake Moan, and then he started doing bigger budget things, and I was like, I'm a Craig Brewer fan. When Footloose
I like
came
The
out.
Wizard of Oz. I like the Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like La La Land. Like I don't like musicals. I can't get into them. I don't like musical theater. I don't. Okay. So in that sense,
that's what my wife teaches.
I didn't even think that it was, to be honest, it never occurred to me like this is a musical until the end. I was like, shit. I was like, this is like basically like a romance, like musical, like two genres I feel like no interest in really. But I think it was just a story that,
Yeah, when you're approaching it though from this love of music, like I think that comes through, and it's like then it can be whatever it needs to be. But yeah, one of my big goals is to do like a huge musical within my career. And like, the whole thing, like a rock opera, everything sung. I started writing something in college it was called Nothing to Lose, the Rock Opera. And it was like an action musical. And it was I lost that hard drive from college, but and I don't know what I had written, but I'd written probably 20 pages on it. But I don't know. There's something to me, like I think it's pure cinema. Like when you see somebody bust out and it's like everybody comes out of their house at the same time to sing the same song and do the same dance in the middle of the street, and you're like, when did they have time to practice? Like that's what I think is hilarious.
Scenes. Like I love, like one of my favorite filmmakers is David Lynch, and my favorite scenes in all of his movies are basically musical performances. So no, I think it can be done.
Yeah.
There's just something about the show business thing that I don't that doesn't connect with me. But yeah, so I think when I was doing the story, I was like, to me, I was just like, this is so doable, which in the end it became quite difficult and actually was not an easy film to make. But as I was writing it, I was like, I can do this because I got the access, I'm like, I can make all this happen. And so I thought like, this is just so doable. And I think sometimes, like, I mean, the only way to really get anything done, it seems like, is you kind of just have to, you won't settle for not finishing. So that's like, I took that attitude and I was like, okay, we're just going to do this project. And so all the iterations of the script and everything, I was like, I feel like I have something to say about this world. And I also, I mean, I mistakenly, misguidedly, I thought it was marketable. I thought that it was an idea that had a shot. So that was why I kind of went all in on it.
Was it?
Well, no, and but I don't think I think the mistake is not to be like, this was a film that we made that wasn't marketable. I just think that this kind of independent film is not marketable the way that we did it, and the learning process of getting to, when the film is done, and you've done a few features more than me, so it sounds like I mean, I'm sure you know this, but it's like, you kind of have this vision where you're like, okay, well, we're going to make this thing and then we're going to see what happens. We're going to take it to film festivals. We're going to send it to people's emails. We're going to try and find someone who can help us with distribution. We can find a distributor. We can find a sales agent. We can sell the movie, whatever that means. You don't know what it means. Well, you learn, not quickly. It takes some time to figure out that, like, none of that really works or even matters. The industry is really small. You're actually better off knocking on people's doors and giving them a DVD or a Blu-ray or whatever. Like, that's actually a more effective way
I
to
mail
market
these DVDs to movie rental stores for free now. Like, I drove my motorcycle to Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon, and the movies are in Blockbuster.
Hell yeah.
That's it's like, awesome. That was a goal with it. It was like, once they get on DVD, I was like, I gotta go to Blockbuster. Like, I gotta have the movies. And it's like,
but my problem was, like, we didn't market for that.
Yeah.
We were trying to market for the wrong thing. And so by the time I felt like I had really truly well and learned the lesson and been like, okay, I would do this totally differently, it sort of felt like that ship had sailed. The film was kind of released and was also published. I felt pressured, I think, because of COVID and the timing, and, like, after so many years, I felt pressured to use streaming. And so, like, at that time too, it was kind of like even more, I think now there's been a big backlash even the past couple of years, but at the time we released it, it was kind of like, well, streaming is all there is. And so, like, that's how you're going to get your revenue. And so, we did use FilmHub, which was a great platform, and I have no complaints about it. I had a generally good experience there, but I just think, like, FilmHub is fine, but FilmHub's not a strategy, and it's definitely not the first thing you should be doing with your movie. And so that, I think, was a mistake, but we learned. So I mean, we got platformed, and there's the benefit, in that.
Yeah, FilmHub. I just talked to a guy that's trying to start, like, basically like I mean, this would be my words, not his. His interview comes out next week. His name's Luke Covert. He's out of Pennsylvania, and he had like a kind of like a 25 or like, like a 15-day feature that he made, 20-day feature, something like that, called Turbo Cola. It's like a fun Y2K movie. And cool. And then he basically had tried those places, and then I guess FilmHub a couple weeks ago has changed all of its platform. Like, now there's nothing really free anymore. It's like, if you want any of the data. So a lot of this just happened over like the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think. So
I've been seeing the changes, but we're kind of grandfathered since we were already
it probably won't affect
just
you.
Running.
Yeah. And so, but he started something that's like, basically the equivalent of that, but you have to do everything yourself. And it's like just a place for it to be like a basis that is like a home for it, but you kind of build your own audience on there and stuff. And he's building that. So it's just a wait list thing right now, but I think he's got like 1,100 or 1,200 filmmakers now that have signed up for the wait list, which is pretty... That's like, cool. Yeah. And so,
I mean, if you can build a membership program, that's one way to do it. I mean, I think that...
Well, his wouldn't be anything. He's like, he's the first person to say, I'm not a distributor. I just want to have, like, he's making the platform for his next feature. And he's like, I just want it to be available for other filmmakers if it works the way I think it's going to work for my movie. Similarly, like I made all my own marketing for all the packaging for the DVDs. And I've embedded everything to my website. So you rent it directly through my website. And, but it's like, I just wanted it to be available for me. And then if you want, I'll help you figure it out. But it's like, I don't want to be a distributor per se, but I do want people to see people's movies, and like you said, it's not really there. And you brought up a good point, though. I mean, while I've made a couple more movies, it's the same thing that was told to me 10 years ago when I started. Everybody was like, get on this. Yeah. My first film, The Horror, got on, like, I think it was all said and done, like 70 different platforms around the world is what they told me. I don't know what really happened. And then it made like $1,100 over 5 years. And they still owe me 13 cents. That was like the last email I got, and says we owe you 13 cents, and I never got that, and that's been 3 years. So,
Yeah, I mean, we made on the order of
Yeah.
thousands. You're talking low thousands of dollars.
yeah, that's about what we
on
made
our
too after
film.
5 years. And
So
and so, like, knowing that, like, this is gonna be a little bit of a philosophical wondering with you if you're up for it.
oh yeah.
So, is that film in your mind successful? Take away all the money, because I think that's what we all
Yeah.
talk about, is like it's not successful unless it makes it money back. But was the film actually successful for your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely yes. For a few reasons. One is, I mean, everything in life requires you to be, ambitious on some level, and we all kind of have our own spheres of influence. So there's not like it. I don't think that making it was like, oh, suddenly a bunch of doors opened for me, but it was like at that point, I mean, people see you as a filmmaker. People saw me as a filmmaker, and what happened was, I had been working in commercials for 10 years, and I still do commercials with my studio, but our main thing we do now is actually these documentaries, which we are brought on as a partner for. And what happened is, like, there are people out there who have maybe the ideal combination is you have a niche, you have a niche audience or a niche world that you are in the domain of, that you're a player in, that you're serious about, that you have spent a lot, in most cases, like a lifetime almost cultivating, right? And then, because that's what it takes.
It's
And then it's like,
I'm glad you're saying.
and then
it.
it's like, and then it's like, well, like, then it's like that. There are people out there who are like that, who are like, they want to make media. They want to be filmmakers. They have ideas for projects. And, sometimes, like, that's what's happened for me, is those people have found me for one reason or another. One of them came to one of our screenings that we did, another one was people that we had done some work with before and pitched them on an idea to do a project that was, more feature length and scope. And, also identifying what the opportunities of the business are, because the opportunities of the business are actually real. I think that's maybe where I'm a little bit like, I'm willing to step outside. They are, I think there are, but you have to kind of go where the audience is. And so that's where, like, for like niche genre kinds of things with the right setup, I think you can actually make them financially viable, even on a self-distribution level. And that's like, our second project was that. So that's why I say that with like a little bit of authority, just because, like, we did this kind of niche project with a bit of a built-in audience, and it's been financially successful, and it wasn't cheap to make, and it continues to make more money on the long tail. And we totally self-distribute it. It's not any distributor. It's actually really only physical in our own online platform that we have been doing. But now, all that to say, it's a genre documentary with around a subject with a built-in audience. So
you made a good, you kind of brought up a good point that, like, the audience thing is very tough. And I think the more you make films, and, if you're a short filmmaker or feature film, like, I mean, it really doesn't matter. But the more that you start realizing, like, the amount of time, because you were saying, like, you started before the pandemic. My feature that that made me want to put them all on DVD was, like, it never really got an actual distribution because it was the same thing, a pandemic, and I knew I didn't want to do another online thing, so that's why I did it a little bit different. But it takes so long sometimes for these movies to get finished, that what you thought you were doing when you started is, like, that world doesn't exist anymore.
The industry changes, your interest changes, your movies relevance to the audience and the marketing and stuff.
Yeah. So I think you have to really decide early on. And that's like with my new feature that I'm trying to do this summer, which is like, I'm literally, I went from like a $25,000 movie to a $17,000 movie to a $7,000 movie. I'm like, okay, what happens now if I just go back with everything I've learned? If I take a year to make a feature basically by myself, can I do that? Which is what a lot of people are having to do now.
Crazy.
And I'm going to try to use, and so, cause I don't know, I'm just really interested. I'm interested in where this medium's going, because after, like you said, I've been doing it for 15, almost 20 years. I'm kind of bored with the status quo. I think film is so much more powerful than blockbuster movies. You were saying before we started recording that you were kind of like on the outside of it. You're bringing up David Lynch and stuff, and it's like, I joked to my wife, I was like, I want this to be Mr. Rogers meets David Lynch when I start getting this whole studio going. It's like, I want you to learn that it's like, maybe I talked to an experimental filmmaker that makes stuff out of scratching pieces of film and playing it back. And it's like, there's so many different ways to do it. And so I think the earlier you can find on, and that's why I said, what is your like definition of film? Like, that's why I start my classes that way. I go like, what do you think this is? Because if you think it's something wild and not like a business, that's a completely different experience. And if you want to approach it that way, and like you're saying, if you can get 1,000 people, it's been very humbling after doing it this long to get,
no, dude, it's my sandbox. I mean, that's my, you get 1,000 people to support you, man. You never need anything more than that.
And it's like, when you start doing like the online stuff, cause I'm a little later to the game cause all these distributors told me not to do it. And I'm like, God, if I'd have done this when I was 28, imagine where I'd be, but I digress. Yeah. And so I'm on the journey I'm on, but you get this kind of thing, and it's a very humbling experience to get on, make something, 15 people watch it. But like you were saying before we recorded, it's like a compound interest, cause that video that got 15 views 6 months ago now has 2,000. And it's like, I didn't have to do anything extra. It just had to sit there long enough for the audience to keep finding me as I keep doing all these things. And it's like, I have 3 features. I have 30 short films. It's like, they're all finding that stuff now that I did in my 20s that I thought was kind of like lost to the internet because it didn't.
I did a film in 2012 that I've clipped, and I put it on YouTube, and I probably will just repost it at some point because it doesn't have a lot of views. But the clips, they kill. The clips, every clip I'm publishing, I get thousands of views because it's like it's a period piece with cool production design, and people are just like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I just post the same clips and they kill on like TikTok and stuff. So it's funny. I think you nailed it, which is that the way I look at it, which is, and there's obviously different ways to do it. There's the funny thing is, like, when you say, like, I always thought of the alternative as, it was like, people would ask me about filmmaking, and I would say, well, you can do it the way that I do it, or you can like try to move to Hollywood and like work your way up in the system. And that was maybe true then. I mean, that is such a bad
I wouldn't tell anybody to move out anyways. Here right now.
No one would recommend that you would do that.
I moved out here in 2010. So I was a couple years after that 2008 like writer's strike. I think it was 2009 was the writer's strike. 2008 was the financial crisis. What a time to graduate college. But and so I moved out here, and it was kind of slow and dead for like 6 months. And then for about 3 years, I feel like I did not stop working. I was on like back to back features, just like around the clock. Yeah. I'd get done. That crew would get hired. We all go to the next one. We'd all go to the next one. And it was like, like you were saying, there was a film worker. You could be just a worker in the film. I don't know if that really exists as much anymore. You got to be very, very good at that and make yourself kind of indispensable in those networks. And that's what I did. I was like, my goal was always like, I want you to feel like you can't do it without me, even if you can. That's how I always approached it.
Right.
But now that I'm like on the other side, I'm like, okay, did they really?
That's how I was even as a DP commercials. I mean, that's how you gotta make yourself indispensable.
Yeah, it's like, so I have different skills that have nothing to do with that camera. That's what made me indispensable. It's like I have other problem solving things. I also knew how to use the camera. And so, but when you're saying, so I think that audience that you're trying to find, it sounds like now this next generation of filmmakers, that are 20 years younger than us, that are kind of starting, they're going to have to get into this, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to phrase it. But what I've had to like tell myself through this past kind of 6 months of doing it is that, like making like this kind of, we'll say content, but I think I'm making something different than content, like you can come back to. But like that is an actual viable path now for a lot of people. We can talk about the ethics of it and how you have to work for 4,000 hours before you get any pay. Like there's a bunch of things that need to change about it, of course. But I don't know. I'm 4 months into it, and I think this is going to be the most viable way that I've ever made money directly from the filmmaking. Everything else has been like from a byproduct. Exactly. Like I went into teaching. I worked as a gaffer and a key grip and a dolly grip and directed.
That was what I was going to say. A film worker doesn't make money being creative.
I'm just
kind of a cog in the machine.
I was a gaffer, so I had a little bit more creativity, but.
It's an artistic industry, but
it's paint by numbers.
Like in terms of ideas.
Yeah. After a while, it's paint by numbers, and I was just bored out of my mind. I was like, I didn't even need to go to Tech Scouts anymore. I'm like, send me a picture, and I know what you want it to look like. I don't need to be there unless we're doing something fun.
And you get niched in, know. So that's like, I think like I had kind of perfected a sort of verite kind of style, elevated kind of verite style, which is now really popular. But I had gotten into that. I think I built my first part of my career on that before it was as accessible as it is now. So it was a little bit. That's like those technical things, have always been a little bit of gatekeepy thing, and they're just not anymore, because like technology, like you can pick up your iPhone and hit record and it looks like pretty damn good, especially if you know a little post-production.
Yeah, I was like, if
So
I had these
like,
tools, I mean, like even on my last feature 7 years ago, if I'd had some of these tools, how much better
yeah,
sound would it be, and how much better everything would
well,
it? It's like these
yeah,
tools, and so it changes so fast, and I think some of us that have been doing it for a while need to stop holding on to. I mean, it's the gatekeeper thing. Just we need to stop holding on to closing the gate behind us every time we get
it
somewhere,
doesn't work
and it doesn't
anyways,
work. No,
because you're trying to protect what you have, and so
which
that's
is
so
crap.
I
So
yeah,
most of the
which
time,
is like, yeah,
it's like,
exactly,
what we make together. We made $2,000 distributing our movie on multiple platforms. Why aren't
right.
we telling everybody that that's really what's about to happen to you? Like,
Right.
so
And
if
the
you could
thing about
get,
YouTube,
yeah,
like YouTube, that's like you were saying. I'm like, my recommendation would be like, and I think short form is fine too. Like I've done, like I actually, my other part of the kind of agency that I run is like more focused on short form. So like short form is great. Most of that's kind of AI created now.
like Opus
Even
and
long to
stuff.
short. Yeah,
Yeah,
and understandably so, because those tools are kind of like, for people who have spent as many hours as we have cutting short form video, you
it's a
realize that
lot.
the tools
Yeah.
are indispensable
I've done it both
themselves,
ways,
and they
and I don't like the AI one because it doesn't really know intent of what they're saying, but it's like the amount of like, or I have to hire an editor over here. I usually get one of like my old college students or something to like do stuff in the
yeah.
background, and
But the
yeah,
truth
yeah,
is that, like, I think the longer forms, at least right now, it's always changing. Right now, I think long form is like particularly valuable.
yeah.
And so I just think like YouTube has been great for that. I've been focused on doing content. I would say my YouTube channel is focused on like the kind of the art, science, and business of filmmaking and creativity.
Yeah.
So, there's a little bit of everything in there, which is like, I come from a really technical background, and like there's a tremendous amount of demand for that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I do lean into that a little bit, especially it tends to be like a way I find that I kind of bring people in. And so people are really interested in that. But then like I am always kind of going back to this message of like a filmmaker and talking about the film business, because honestly, there's just a lot of like, it's more niche, it's less numbers, but really interested people are really interested in that. And I think younger people, to your point, they don't know at all how it works, and they really want to try and figure it out, and they
My
think that they want to know what the answer is. And I think the truth is, it's like you said, 1,000 people. Like I'm like, that what can you really do? Start building your audience, start figuring out your voice and building your audience literally one person at a time,
I even look like we did an actual premiere of the first one. We got a place and did a step and repeat. Like we paid for it all out of pocket because we didn't have distribution at that point. I think we got like 200 people to sew up. And then we got distribution and we just kind of stopped. And then 5 years later it had 800. And then those 200 people that had supported us early on, like, I don't even know if they ever actually like bought copies or whatever. And those disappeared. And you're like, because they told us we were going to do everything and we were young, dumb, and naive. So, but whenever I teach like my advanced film classes, like one of the last classes I taught before the school I was at closed down, that I literally, like, I just put up like $100,000 on the board, and I was like, all right, you just sold your movie for $100,000. We're gonna go through and see how much you actually make. And then I literally just crossed that out and go, you got 50,000 now. Your distributor took that top half. Okay, that's gone. And then I
Yeah.
just keep crossing it out, and you're like, okay, you had back end points. That's all gone. That's all gone. You said you would give
Yeah.
25% of anything you made back to this group. Okay, now that's all gone. And it's like, so even if you made $100,000, you're gonna make $1,100. Like, you don't have any money.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
I think saying that to filmmakers earlier, and like I've been preaching it in basically everything I'm doing on here, because I'm approaching this
Yeah.
like a teacher first and
Yeah.
foremost, is that I'm not telling you that your movie's not going to make money to hurt your feelings. I'm telling you that so you can prepare now while you're making your first film to be like, what movie do you really want to make? Because if they're not going to make money anyway, ideally people start making more films that are personal and mean more to them. And it's like, they're not going
Yeah.
to make any money anyway. So like maybe you have a job you really like, but you can save $5,000 a year to make a movie over the summer with your four other friends. And like, it's just kind of changing it a little bit. And I think the fact that we're talking about this now to younger audiences and younger creatives and not keeping it like the last couple generations, like, I'm optimistic that I think a lot of filmmakers and a lot of artists in general are going to realize like, oh, maybe I could survive on $40,000 a year, and maybe this YouTube channel with a couple thousand people makes $1,000 a month off of AdSense, and I create, and maybe that's where it's at. And
Yeah.
so I
Well,
think there's
yeah.
going to be
I think
a
I
lot of
yeah.
different things that come out of like just being open-minded to what all of like what a creative life looks like.
I think that's definitely true. I I can't help myself. I'm quite entrepreneurial. So,
Well, that's good for
I
you, yeah.
look
Because
at it.
I think most of the people listening to this are like, I just want to make films. I don't care if they make any money. And as somebody that's made money and not
Yeah.
made money on them, like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I know now I'm in the middle. I don't want to do
Yeah.
the far because that takes way too long. It's too bureaucratic. It's like I'd rather make
Yeah.
$10,000 movies that I just fund myself, and then
Yeah.
do the other stuff over here. Because yeah, it just becomes too
Yeah.
much. It kind of loses the fun of it
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. I look at it, I think, as uh trying to develop and think about. I kind of have two paths. I mean, one is like I independently make my own films, like you're talking about. I just spend my own money. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
I'm just whatever, and or I apply for grants. I got a grant, so I'm doing this cycle now because I got a grant for one of three or maybe four that I'm going to make that helps cut it down. And then when it's
Oh,
done, like
great.
you were talking about crowdfunding, I'm like, well, that's to me. I think about it actually still revenue for films is still really kind of windowed. It's just the windows are different and you got to be a little more creative about how you think about it. And you just have to maintain ownership and marketing and distribution responsibilities yourself and just embrace that aspect of it. And that's like YouTube is like you're doing that for that. And that's probably the best thing you could do. It's like you have to the world now is like the best thing you can it's like creator owned, the creator economy. Like you actually just kind of need to be a part of that. In my opinion, I think like even people who are massively successful right now.
You got to keep your IP, and that's one thing. Even with all these deals, like I have all three of the copyrights from the government for these films. They are 100% mine. I have all the clear chain of title. It's like that was very important going forward. Is like
For me too,
because it's like if I decide I want to do something with this when I'm 50, then I want to be able to repackage it and do whatever I want with it. And it's like you can only do that if you have the IP. And so you were talking about the window thing, and just could you explain a little bit? Because I think some of these filmmakers are going to be 17, 18. They may not know exactly what you're talking about. Could you talk about that?
So I mean, when a film was traditionally released, like even through a major distributor or whatever, like, I mean, okay, so let's say you had an independent film that was really successful, or like, 20 years ago, you were at Sundance and maybe going to sell your film, which now most films, like 95% of films don't even get a distribution deal after Sundance. I personally know.
Save your $150.
I know more than 5 people who had films that were there and did all the PR and spent all the money and did all the things, and films didn't get distribution and did the roundabout and still ended up probably going through indie rights or something like that, like great films, but it's just, that's what the market is like right now.
There's a lot of luck that comes with it. It's like it's just a timing thing. Is there 5 movies that are exactly like yours that came out that year?
It's like winning the lottery to a degree, and that's just like
that's why you just really got to make the movie you want to make. But yeah.
Right. So for windowing though, so let's say you had the film that was really successful, what would happen is like you would have a sales agent and they would basically work to, sell it to a distributor. So you're talking about a cut, like everybody's taking their piece right out the gate, even if you have a deal. And then like they're going to sell it to the distributor. The distributor, I mean, in rare instances, now it's totally unheard of to get like a minimum guarantee, right? So they're basically just like, they acquire the rights to your film and they're saying that they're going to market it, like your point. Are they really? You don't know. But the windows were traditionally like it would go to do theatrical, which people were still, 20 years ago, that was still like small distributors were still saying, hey, we're going to do a theatrical window. But that is where you would like make the most money. At least that's the initial salvo. And then really there was this robust market for like, DVDs and things like that. So that's, your physical was like another window. And then, it would go like to rentals or whatever. I mean, so that was pre-internet. Then once internet kind of got involved, it was more like, well, then there's this added like VOD window, right? Which is like you go rent the title. Things like Netflix and, the big streaming like existed, but really the past 5 years, the market for that has completely changed.
Yeah.
Where now it's more like free advertising supported video is, for instance, Tubi, like those free advertised supported platforms are actually one of the places from streaming you would get, relatively better revenue compared to other things but it's very, very small. So unless you're getting literally millions of views, you're not going to be seeing anything real. ironically, YouTube partner programs, I mean, it depends on the ad rates, which vary by year and by the niche that you're in, but like YouTube partner ad rates are actually better than any of the AVOD platforms. So you're
Yeah.
better off putting your movie on a YouTube partner plan. So that validates, like, okay, I mean,
If you're going to
should
give it
you put
away
your
for
movie on
free,
YouTube?
that's where I'm like, I think a lot of
Why wouldn't you, to a
yeah,
degree, you know? Like, if you're gonna stream it, why wouldn't you put it on
I mean,
YouTube,
I gave
you
away
know?
the movie like right after I got the distribution back on the first one. I think I gave it away for free for like 6 months, and it got like 2,000 views.
Yeah.
And then I kind of made it private or whatever. But yeah, because I'm thinking about just like, yeah, once it monetizes, like I'm gonna give away the first one for free again
Right.
on YouTube, and be like, if you want to watch it without ads, you got to go to my website to rent it or buy it, but you can watch it. I don't
Right.
know, like I don't know where they're gonna put the ads. They might be in the middle of your favorite
Exactly.
scene. And
Exactly. And I'm gonna do the same thing with my film. I'm waiting,
Yeah.
but I'm waiting till we're in the, you know, once you're in the partner program, which is will
Yeah.
be the next couple months, I'm assuming.
Yeah, hoping, yeah.
With the way it's been growing, you know, and so I think you do that with your film. But so now I think independent filmmaker, to me, it's very clear. I mean, what we've had success with, I should say, is like crowdfunding. But when we did Bad Animal, we did crowdfund in the beginning because we needed the money. I mean, if you really need the money and you have no other way to do it, you got to scrap and save or find whatever way you can do it, or if you're going to whatever. But if you could reasonably be like, okay, I can pool together the resources to do this, and you know, I'm not afraid to make whatever investment, and you're doing it on a small scale.
Yeah.
And you're willing to do it, knowing that there's obviously a lot of risk, but also knowing that you actually have a real plan for how you're going to monetize this. You're building the audience. You do your crowdfunding campaign where the goal is to make money. I mean, like to break even. I mean, you got to do it for cheap. That's to your point. Like, okay, it's much easier to make money on a $7,000 movie than it is on a
that's why we did it. Yeah,
movie,
we basically
you know?
I finished the second film. It went to Rain Dance. You know, I flew over there. I did all the hullabaloo.
Oh yeah, Rain Dance is a great festival too. Yeah, that's a great festival.
Yeah, and I premiered there. I think there was like 25 people in the audience. They counter programmed me. Like the theater next door was Wonder Woman. It's like I'm never gonna be able to like. But so I think like what I learned from those and if I didn't go, that I don't know if this is still the same. But whenever I got into that festival, if I didn't go to the screening, they wouldn't screen the movie.
And how funny is that? They're literally in the UK.
Yeah, so I had to fly from LA.
Such a legit festival.
Yeah, I had to fly from LA to London, and I also did a marketing thing. And once again, like this is nothing bad against Rain Dance. I saw some really incredible films there, but this is film festivals in general, just an overall theme I've found.
I've been to big film festivals with movies, and I've had the exact same experience.
And so, and then I've been to really like I had that same film, Little Hand, got into it was called the Rebel Film Festival. They rented out a single screen theater for 3 days, and filmmakers took it over for 3 days and literally would walk in, watch a movie, walk out, talk about it, have a drink, walk in, watch a movie, walk out, talk about it, walk it. And it was like, that's how every festival should be, in my opinion. It's only 150 people. It's small. And it's just like you're watching movies in huge groups of people. But for Rain Dance, they even had me come to an office and do an interview, like to do for press that didn't come out ever. And I was like, so I spent like half of my day one day, like wandering around London to do that. And once again, the actual experience and the people I met there, incredible. But I just think film festivals in general are not what I think the allure is off now a little bit, that you're going to spend a lot of money and then you're still going to have to market it yourself. You're still going to have to get people there. And so you're like, if I'm going to have to basically give away the movie anyway, what would happen if I gave away for YouTube or whatever, or wherever, and then at least I'd have an audience that I can now go back and reach out and talk to, you know,
So I would say like YouTube, like that's any streaming to me. I'm saying, so like streaming, YouTube, whatever, like YouTube maybe is the better of the streaming, but that's still going to be the very end cycle of your thing. So like you monetize the parts that you can monetize first. So do your Kickstarter, get some really kick-ass merch, get a kick-ass poster. Our poster's not very we should have invested more in that. That's it's like your YouTube thumbnail, you know what I mean? It's like get a kick-ass poster, because that's really like what most people are clicking on. Make a great thumbnail for your movie for when it goes to VOD, but do your Kickstarter, have a couple select really great boutique like rewards that people are really going to want, and then do physical after that, you know. As you're doing it, everybody who's supporting you, you're building a mailing list, you're starting to grow your effort to actually remain in touch, and that requires you to become a bit more of a creator, be more crafty about what you're doing, but you're working towards a goal, which is the goal that you really want. So it's valuable work. And I think you do that, you do the physical merch, then VOD, like, I mean, I guess when I did FilmHub, it was probably different. So I don't know what kind of gatekeepers you got to get through to get to VOD these days. I mean, it was only a few years ago, but I guess maybe it's changed.
I think it's still free to get up there, but they're not doing all of the information, like all the analytics for free anymore. Like they used to.
Oh, got it.
So if you're on the free one, you're not going to get all those analytics anymore. They're making you pay for. That's the gatekeep now, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, really, all
I don't know. I got
like,
taken advantage of of an aggregator, so I did it the old way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but so I mean, if you, whatever, but I think like, yeah. So what I would call is like, if you're hosting it on your own site, to me, I would consider that a great window. I would just consider that kind of like premium VOD, because really you're still kind of, you sell the most expensive things to your most loyal customers first.
Yeah.
And then you kind of work your way down, right? So it's like, if the best thing, Kickstarter average pledge value for most successful projects is like $100. So like that's your diehards, your true fans, and you never know where it's going to go. I mean, I had people who when we did Bad Animal, we had multiple people who gave us the highest reward level, which was $1,000, who I never knew and never heard of again.
That's awesome.
And so, so you have to work on your campaign for sure. It's a big marketing campaign.
Yeah,
you
that's something
bust
that,
your ass on it.
I've done it before. I mean, I've always done it at the end. I've never tried to fund a thing off of it. So we've done like finishing funds or festivals or sound mixing, whatever. But yeah, be prepared. It
for
is
the
a lot
doc
of
that
work.
I did
it's a lot
last
of work.
year. We, like I said, we had a property that we felt, had a big built-in audience, and we had our own audience because we kind of worked with the production team that I had partnered with. My producer was deep in this kind of comic book niche, but yeah, we did like $500,000 on Kickstarter, selling collectibles and rewards and signed kinds of stuff and all kinds of amazing, things. And so I learned a lot from there too, in terms of like the fulfillment and how you should maybe do those rewards a little bit better. And we did it at the end. But my point was like, that's not going to happen if you have something that nobody knows about. But it does make sense to think about your ideas. Like, is there a way? I mean, IP, but maybe something that's royalty free or public domain, or like, how can you get additional interest to your project from the outset? Not a bad idea to think about. And then, you do your crowdfunding, you do your premium VOD. I love that. We actually did that too. We were selling physical the same time that we were selling like streaming through a platform that we developed. And so that's your premium VOD. We haven't even done VOD yet. But that's what I would do next. That's like going so you can be on your iTunes and Amazon or, Google Play, whatever. And then after that, when all that's done, that's all the money you're going to get. And then you go to streaming and whatever, and then you get your $2,000 over 5 years or whatever, but any real money there was to extract, you got to get early in. I think that's true of independent filmmakers and studios as well. And I think they're trying to find ways to increase revenue in those windows too.
I don't know if this is the same anymore, but like when I was doing more studio stuff and like bigger budget things, and most of those movies, I don't know if this is still the case, but most of those already have distribution sold. They've already sold to every, to every market around the world. And it's like, so that's what's actually funding the movie. So it's like, they're basically making a movie to give it away for free. Yeah. So, but I don't even know if that world really exists anymore.
It doesn't unless it's now, I think, my understanding, and I'm an outsider, but like I said, I have a lot of friends who work in the business and I follow the business. And my understanding is that, the studios are primarily producing internally for their own content chains, right?
Yeah.
So you have, you have Netflix, which is, I think accounts for like 13% of total production, but is still, like a major player, and they're not doing any theatrical distribution, but they're funding everything themselves.
Yeah.
And then the other studios are pretty much doing the same thing, but there's all this consolidation going on. So they're all thinking of like, how do we maintain the content, really? Like, how do we keep the content in our ecosystem? Because they're thinking zoomed out like that. And I don't think that they really care, because what you were talking about there, it's all pre-sold. Well, a lot of that was physical, right? A lot of that was physical. And
it's been theatrical, physical. Yeah. I mean, but I am an advocate that physical is going to come back harder. Well, I'm probably just because I want it to, but I don't know if I can manifest it. But
no, I think it is a little bit already.
But I think there is I mean, like you were saying, like we're in these kind of like bigger hubs, but there are a lot of places around just the United States that do not
Yeah.
have movie theaters anymore. So if they want to see a
Right.
movie, they are going to have to watch it either on streamers or they're going to have to watch it on physical media. The reason I wanted to do physical media, besides the fact that, I think it's the only way to like, for me to be able to like give you exactly what I wanted you to see,
Yeah.
is that I didn't want you watching it on a streamer that had an ad somewhere in the middle that I couldn't control. Like my film was on Tubi for a couple years, and I think it made $700 or something like that. Not very much. But I was thankful that Tubi, for all the things that they do or whatever, is that it was actually at the end of scenes. And it was on your film too when I was watching it. I was like, which I was
Yeah.
grateful
Okay,
for.
nice.
So they're actually
Yeah.
thinking about the experience for you watching it. And so, because
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of other ones, unless it's like a TV show that's made for, sorry, they're sawing right outside the door. I'll wait for him to, it should be fast. My neighbors have been doing a kitchen restoration since August.
Oh no. It's good. Yeah. Well, no, but
yeah.
I'll say that the experience with Tubi for me is like I appreciate it because it's like a way anyone can go see the film where we get revenue from it. And if we didn't, if we had done YouTube,
yeah.
if we had done YouTube, then when I was doing that, if I was like serious about YouTube when I released that film, then I would have just done YouTube because YouTube, as a partner, because it's actually the best version of that. Plus, you're building people, you're bringing people to your page. I mean, that's why it's funny because people are like, oh, you're going to put your movie on YouTube. I'm like, well, if you're a YouTube partner. Yes, and the funny thing is, like Tubi, you may think it gives you some. Actually, now people like Tubi. Tubi is like credibility for some people, which is funny because, but everyone is into these free, fast, free advertising supported television, and that's a huge market right now. So I hear what you're saying about the ads. I mean, I'm trying to get people to watch things anywhere I can. So
Me too. Yeah.
I'm not that precious about it, but yeah, I mean, I think the Blu-rays are the best way to do it. I'm looking forward to creating, like we made an epic Blu-ray on this last documentary that we did. And so I learned a lot about the production on that because we had to make a lot of them. We sold like 5,000 of them. And so, so I'm excited about this new kind of anthology that I'm doing. Like it's going to be very scrappy. It's going to be very DIY, but I'm hoping that like the audience that we can kind of build through the content that we're doing and then our kind of existing audience and sort of a newsletter program that we were running a lot last year, but has been kind of on pause. We were kind of refreshing. And so all of our kind of content is sort of in a limbo. Next month, we're like launching a lot of new sort of stuff. And then these films are going into production. So it's going to be a really busy year. And I'm thinking by the fall is probably when we're going to drop this kind of crowdfunding campaign for this project.
Nice, man. I'd like to wrap up and let you but I have one kind of last question, and this is for all the young artists that are walking this wayward path behind us, because they're gonna have to actually do a lot of the work we didn't get done on this last 20 years. But what's something that you learned kind of over this journey, like of being a filmmaker or an artist in general, that is something you learned later that you wish you would have learned a little bit earlier, like something that would have kind of like changed, maybe it gave you more peace in the process, or just anything that you'd like, a piece of advice that you'd like to leave with the younger generation?
I mean, I actually think it's pretty much this conversation we just had. It's that, you got to be responsible for where your film's going to go. You're going to make your film for an audience. You can make your film for yourself, and I think that's fine to do. But, you want to think about the audience, the people that you want to speak to and reach them, and figure out how you can reach them directly, and don't count on anyone to be coming in to kind of, it's like that film cliche, the whatever, no one's coming to rescue your film or save your film or whatever. They're not coming.
The cavalry isn't coming.
Yeah, it's not coming. Like it's not. No. But that's the whole point of his thing. And that was 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it's like the flip side of it is that, you have more opportunity to own your own destiny, and you can do more with less. And so that's what I tell people to do, because I still see people who are scrapping and trying to raise all this money to do projects, and they're trying to go into the incubators and they're doing all that. And in fairness, I tried for those things and I never got them, so I couldn't speak to the opportunities.
Neither do I.
It's not from a lack of effort, but for various reasons. So I can't speak to it. But I will say, a lot of peers and friends that I've seen doing it, I don't think that's yielded what they expected that it would. And I see a lot of burnout just from like mismatched expectations. To make a film is very hard to do. And for it to be successful is kind of like winning the lottery. And, if you don't have any connections or whatever, that's that works against you, but it doesn't mean that you can't actually be successful. I think that's, you can be successful doing this. You got to, like you said, redefine what success is a little bit, and you got to think about the audience. Maybe that's the main thing. Be more conscious and thoughtful about the audience. Not that you have to change what you're doing necessarily, but think about who the audience is and how can you reach them.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think a lot of people told me early on to like worry about the audience. And it was like, I'm making this film for me. And so, and while you should still be making your film for you, I think that's the first audience.
I agree.
But knowing that, like, my audience is probably like 10,000 people, 20,000 people, maybe. It's not 50 million. So like now I need to hone in and make that movie. It's like I'm making,
and that's powerful.
And that
if you know the 20,000 people you need to reach, that's powerful.
Oh my God, it changed everything for me. I was like, I'm not trying to reach all those other people, but when you are trying to do it inside of those systems, that's who they're trying to get you to reach, is the broadest amount of people. If you're not a broad...
And the people in your personal life, that's like... That's what's funny is like before I felt like the people in my community and the people in my life, I felt like these are the people I'm like trying to make and have them rally and support me. And what I realized is actually those people are like, well, you're doing all this stuff, this type of content or whatever that I'm not interested in. I'm like, that's because it's not actually for you. So I don't care because it's for someone else and I'm making it for that person.
It sounds like my dad right now. And if you're listening to this, which he has been listening to everything, which I appreciate all the support, but I'm like, Dad, most of this stuff is probably not targeted at you. I appreciate the support, but it's like, I don't think you're the target.
You're going to mess up your algorithm.
Yeah, that's what I told him. That's what I told him. I was like, your algorithm's going to be messed up. And then it's also going to think you really like filmmaking tutorials from your son. So, but no, I think that's a great way to kind of end it. That is knowing that your audience, it's whatever it needs to be, but just being like, I'm making movies for this person. And I think with doing YouTube, that changed everything for me too, as well. Cause it's like, I think for a while, everybody thought that talking on the internet is like I'm talking to a broad audience, like they're all watching simultaneously. I'm having a conversation just like I'm having one with you right now. There's only one person I'm talking to.
It's asynchronous. It's just asynchronous.
Yeah, it's just like they don't get to talk back. So now I have to come up with questions in my head that they might be thinking about that I also talk about. And I think just if you did, as a filmmaker, if you just did YouTube for 6 months to learn how to talk to one person, it's just going to make you a better storyteller because it's going to focus in the kind of story that you want to tell. But I did love that you also said you can make more with less because that's been my entire philosophy. The more you can get rid of, like ease the friction. I don't know if I started doing a lot of research because of teaching, and it was like, I think it was over 90% of filmmakers only make one film in their career. Yeah. It's like when I learned that, I was like, oh my God, I've already made 3 and like a dozen shorts.
Well, it makes sense because
they get burned out.
You have one essentially failure, and that's like, I have this thing I say, which I'm like,
I made $800. That should have made me stop. Like I should have stopped.
And
it was not for the money.
Also, people are like, well, you learn so much from failure. I'm like, well, you learn from failure, but what they don't tell you is that it really sucks and takes a long time to figure out anything you're going to learn from it. So it's actually easier to give up for sure.
And the costs that are associated with it, time and financially, like is usually a lot. And
emotionally.
So let's not worry about the, no, I'm finally past the mental health. I'm like, if you don't like, now when I get a comment or something like, well, this guy just rambles on. I was like, I'm not your person. I hope you have a beautiful day. Dude. Goodbye.
The reviews, man, the comic stuff that I do, like people love it. Some people love it. And some, cause I'm actually not from that world. I'm more like the outsider looking in. And so
focus on the people that love your stuff, not the hate. The haters are going to be there no matter what.
It's true, man. It's true.
Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with me today. I hope this was informative. I hope you learned something. And if you're a new filmmaker looking to make your first film, then check out one of these tutorials. And if you're a filmmaker that would like to get on the show, then make sure you reach out and hit me up on brotzacreative.us. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Share what you know with everybody. I'll see you next time.